Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto number 4, Chapter number 25, titled The Characteristics of King Purañjana. Text number 32. Nārada Vacha Itam Purañjanam Nāri Itam Purañjanam Nāri Yachamanam Adir Avat Yachamanam Adiravat Abhyanandatatam Viram Abhyanandatatam Viram Hasanti Viramohita Hasanti Viramohita Nārada Vacha Itam Purañjanam Nāri Yachamanam Adiravat Abhyanandatatam Viram Hasanti Viramohita Nārada Vacha Itam Purañjanam Nāri Yachamanam Adiravat Abhyanandatatam Viram Hasanti Viramohita. Itam Purañjanam Nāri Yachamanam Adiravat Abhyanandatatam Viram Hasanti Viramohita. Nārada Vacha Itam Purañjanam Nāri Yachamanam Adiravat Abhyanandatatam Viram Hasanti Viramohita. Word for word translation. Nārada Vacha. The great sage Nārada continued to speak. Itam, upon this. Purañjanam, unto Purañjana. Nari, the woman. Yachamanam, begging. Adhiravat, being too impatient. Abhyanandata, she addressed. Tam, him. Viram, the hero. Hasanti, smiling. Vira, O hero. Mohita, being attracted by him. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. Nārada continued, My dear king, when Purañjana became so attracted and impatient to touch the girl and enjoy her, the girl also became attracted by his words and accepted his request by smiling. By this time she was certainly attracted by the king. Purport. By this incident we can understand that when a man is aggressive and begins to woo a woman, the woman becomes attracted to the man. This process is described in the Bhagavatam 5.5.8 as Pumsa Striya Mituni Bhavam Etam. This attraction is enacted on the platform of sexual life. Thus the sex impulse is the platform of material engagement. This conditional life, the platform of material sense enjoyment, is the cause of forgetfulness of spiritual life. In this way, a living entity's original Krishna consciousness becomes covered or converted into material consciousness. Thus one engages in the business of sense gratification. Om Jnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurmanitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktarinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Thank you for coming to Srimad Bhagavatam class today. So we're continuing our discussion of the story of King Purañjana, narrated by Nārada Muni to King Purañjana Barishat. So this story is an allegory, or it's like a big metaphor, and each person in this story it represents someone. So this King Purañjana, he represents us, the conditioned jivas, living inside a material body, trying to enjoy inside this body. And this girl that Purañjana meets, she represents material intelligence. So one thing Prabhupada mentions in our acharyas, they tell us to focus on in this section of the story, is how Purañjana, or the jiva, out of his own free will, is engaging with this lady. No one forces him that, go and hook up with this Mataji. He himself, out of his own free will, is going to go and become attached to this lady. So this is one thing our acharyas ask us to focus on, that no one forces or pushes the jiva to come here in this material world. It is out of our own free will that we have chosen to come to this material world, and is our own free will we are choosing to be attached to material intelligence, be attached to sense gratification, be attached to material life. So it's said that Krishna, he has given each and every one of us independence, little independence, because we're part and parcel of Krishna. We all have a little independence, and with that independence we can either choose Maya or Krishna. And here in this story we're seeing how Purañjana, out of his own free will, is choosing Maya. And this lady, she represents material intelligence, not spiritual intelligence. So it's said that at every single moment of our lives, we always have this option, or we always have this choice, whether to choose Krishna or to choose Maya. Sometimes this question comes up. How did we come here in this material world in the first place? Krishna, he's the most attractive, he's the most kind, loving person. We're all having fun in Goloka Vrindavan with Radha Gopinath. So how did we leave such a nice place and come here into this material world? So this question was put forward to Prabhupada many times. Once when it was put forward to Prabhupada in France, he answered this question with a very nice example. So devotees, they asked Prabhupada, how come, the jiva was there with Krishna, why did he leave Krishna? Come here in the material world, Krishna is so beautiful, so attractive, why did we leave Krishna? So Prabhupada, he gave an example. Prabhupada said, just like every day you all eat rice, dal, sabji and chapatis. And every day that's like a standard lunch. And no one has any problem. No one gets bored of it, no one gets tired of it. We're happy and satisfied. simply eating rice, dal, sabji and chapatis every day for lunch. But Prabhupada says, one day, this thought comes up in our mind. What would it be like if I took something else for lunch today? Just that thought crosses. It's not that we don't like rice, dal, sabji and chapatis, but one day, because we have that free will, the power to desire, just that thought comes in our mind. What would it be like if today I took something else for lunch? So in the same way, Prabhupada says, we are all there in the spiritual world with Radha Gopinath, and we're happy and satisfied. We have no problems. But one day, because Krishna has given us that tiny, minute independence, we have that power to desire. So one day, just this thought comes in our mind. What would it be like if I was the enjoyer, if I was the center? As soon as that thought comes in our mind, Prabhupada says, we come down to the material world. Krishna, he creates a whole separate reality for us to fulfill that desire. Because that desire can't be fulfilled in the spiritual world, because in the spiritual world, Krishna is the center, Krishna is the enjoyer. Everyone else, they serve Krishna. So as soon as that desire pops up in the mind of a jiva in the spiritual world, at that very moment, he falls down into the material world. So again, the acharyas tell us that this is what we should be focusing on. That so far, we've been hearing this whole story of Purañjana. Nowhere is he being forced. No one is pushing him, go, engage with this lady. No, out of his own free will, he's going and choosing to hook up with this lady who represents mature intelligence. So at every moment we have this option, whether to choose Maya or Krishna. With our minute independence, we can choose either. So my Guru Maharaj, he says that all of us, we have choice muscles. Just like some time ago before, they had put one ad on TV for how to overcome addiction to smoking. And this ad was showing animation of a person flexing his muscles. And as he's doing like this, his muscle is becoming bigger and bigger. And this ad was that willpower is like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it becomes. Just like in weightlifting, the more weight the guy lifts, the bigger his muscle becomes. So in the same way, this ad was saying that willpower is like a muscle. The more you use your willpower, the stronger your willpower becomes, the stronger your determination becomes, the stronger your choice muscle becomes. So in the same way, my Guru Maharaj explains that at every moment of our lives, at every second, we have this choice, whether I'll choose Krishna or Maya. And the more we choose Krishna over Maya, the stronger our willpower becomes, the stronger our choice muscle becomes, the stronger our determination to practice bhakti becomes. Just like, say, someone acts rudely to us. So at that moment, we have a choice, whether we get angry or we just tolerate and forget about it and continue with our life. If we become angry, then we're choosing Maya at that moment. Maya is getting the better of us. If we're able to tolerate and just continue on with our bhakti, then we're choosing Krishna over Maya. So like this, at every single moment of our lives, that choice is there, whether to choose Krishna or Maya. And every time we choose Krishna over Maya, the stronger and stronger we become in bhakti, in devotional service. The stronger our willpower becomes, the stronger our choice muscles become, the stronger our determination to practice bhakti becomes. Regarding determination, I was hearing His Grace Radhashyam Prabhu. He was explaining that there's 3 Ds in our lives that if we can cultivate, we can advance very nicely in spiritual life. First one is determination. So Radhashyam Prabhu says that by chanting japa, we can cultivate determination. Because when we're chanting, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, we're supposed to focus on the sound. So initially be focusing, but then the mind wanders here and there. So to chant attentively requires great amount of determination. So that's why if someone is daily practicing, chanting 16 rounds, trying his best or her best to chant attentively, that increases one's determination. So Radhashyam Prabhu says The first D is determination, and we can strengthen our determination by chanting, by attentive chanting. Second D is discrimination. The power to understand what is right, what is wrong. What should I do in this situation? What should I not do in this situation? What is good for me? What is not good for me? So these are very important questions of our life that come upon us at every moment. So how to choose the right thing? For that we need good power of discrimination. To cultivate good discrimination, Radha Shampru explains, we need to read and study Shastra. Or we need to hear classes about the Shastras, like Bhagavad Gita, Srimad Bhagavatam, so on and so forth. So by daily reading Bhagavatam or hearing Bhagavatam, one can increase his power of discrimination. Then the third D is discipline. Discipline one can cultivate by following a regulated lifestyle, by following a regulated morning program. Okay, every day I'll wake up at this time, I will chant my rounds at this time, I will engage in some puja in the morning, I will read Bhagavatam at this time. So when we stick to a regulated schedule, when we have some sort of morning program fixed for us, then that helps us become disciplined. So Radha Shampru explains that if we can cultivate these three qualities, determination, discrimination, and discipline, by trying to chant attentively, by studying the Shastras, and by following a regulated lifestyle, then we can very nicely and steadily progress in spiritual life. Now coming back to this, in the purport, Prabhupada explains that this conditional life, the platform of material sense enjoyment, is the cause of forgetfulness of spiritual life. In this way, living entities' original Krishna consciousness becomes covered or converted into material consciousness. Thus, one engages in the business of sense gratification. So as we are reading this story, when King Purañjana, he sees this girl, she is not alone, but she is surrounded by 11 bodyguards. There's one leader of the bodyguards, and then there's 10 subordinate bodyguards. The leader of the bodyguards, that represents the mind. Then the subordinate bodyguards, that's the 10 senses, or the 5 working senses, and the 5 knowledge-acquiring senses, Gyanendriyas. So these are the servants of mature intelligence, or of this girl. And not only that, Purañjana sees that each one of these bodyguards has hundreds and hundreds of wives. So those wives of each of the bodyguards, that represents the hundreds and thousands of desires that each one of our senses have. Our eyes have hundreds of desires, to see this, to see that. Our ears have hundreds of desires. Our tongue have hundreds of desires. Just like you go to any food court in any shopping mall, so many different restaurants, right? And each restaurant has like 20, 30 varieties. So that's all due to the desires of the tongue. One day the tongue wants to eat this, another day the tongue wants to eat that. So like this, each one of the senses, each one of the bodyguards of this girl has hundreds and hundreds of wives, which represents the hundreds and hundreds of mature desires of each one of the senses. So she doesn't come alone, she comes with a lot of baggage. So initially it seems very innocent, King Purañjana hooking up with this girl, but actually there's so much baggage that comes along. So in the same way, when we come into this material world, we get so much entangled with so many material desires. So the question is, how to overcome, all these desires? Now we're stuck here, we've chosen to come here to this material world. We're attached to material intelligence, we have our mind, we have our 10 senses. Our mind and 10 senses all have hundreds of material desires. So sometimes it seems hopeless, to overcome so many desires. There's one very nice example given in the same canto, 4th canto, by the 4 Kumaras to Maharaj Prithu. The 4 Kumaras explain that these material desires, they are like unlimited, just like the waves, of a river. And these waves of the river is very, very difficult to overcome. You can imagine a raging river. It's like practically impossible to stop the current of the river. So material desires are like that. It's like unlimited, it's just like endless. On our own strength, we can't overcome the current of the river of material desires. And the 4 Kumaras explained to Prithu Maharaj that jnanis, yogis, they try so hard, but they fail to overcome the current of material desires. Only the bhakta, only the devotee is able to overcome. How? Prabhupada in the purport, he further elaborates on the example that imagine there's a big ocean and there's many rivers flowing into the ocean. So those rivers, they represent material desires coming from different senses or the mind. So generally the rivers, they will flow into the ocean. But sometimes what happens, there is a huge tide that comes up in the ocean, like a tsunami. And when the huge tide of the ocean comes up, like a tsunami, the power of that tide is so great that it forces the current of the river to go in the opposite direction. And then the rivers, instead of flowing into the ocean, they go backwards, and then the rivers, they flood and they go all over the land. And then there's flooding all over that land. So that huge tsunami coming up in the ocean, that huge tide which forces the rivers to go in the other direction and overflow, Prabhupada explains that's compared to us fully engaging in devotional service and packing our daily lives with lots and lots of Krishna conscious activities. If we become very, very, very busy in devotional service, in Krishna consciousness, then we flood out any material desires which are coming in through any one of the senses. If we become so busy in our bhakti or devotional lives, we won't have time to address the desires coming through our mind, desires coming through our eyes, through our tongue. We just won't have time. So that's how the 4 Kumaras explain that one can overcome material desires. On our own strength, it's impossible. The only way we can overcome is to become very, very, very busy in bhakti or devotional service. If we pack our daily lives with full engagement in devotional service, we won't have time for Maya. Radhashyam Prabhu explains one class that there's 3 different modes in which we can practice devotional service. Mode number 1 is practicing bhakti in comfort zone. Mode number 2 is practicing bhakti in stretch zone. Mode number 3 is practicing bhakti in panic zone. So these are 3 different zones in which we can perform devotional service. And we all have experience practicing bhakti in each one of these zones. So practicing bhakti in panic zone, maybe we experienced that during Janmashtami, Prabhupada Vyas Puja Day. There's so much seva and the festivals are back to back. Janmashtami will finish at 1 a.m., 1:30 a.m. and the next day again festival. So that's like panic zone. There's so much seva to do. Always something will go wrong. Things will never go according to plan. So maybe at that time we experience doing bhakti in panic zone. Then there's doing bhakti in comfort zone. We're very relaxed. We have a lot of free time and and then we do some bhakti or some service. Then there is stretch zone. Doing bhakti in stretch zone means it's not exactly panic zone, but at the same time it's not comfort zone. It's like in between, in the middle. We have to push ourselves a little bit to get things done, but at the same time it's not so much that it's overwhelming. So Radhashyam Prabhu explains the ideal mode in which we should always be practicing bhakti is not comfort zone, it's actually stretch zone. We should always be performing bhakti in stretch zone. If we're in comfort zone, then there is very good chance for Maya to creep in. Because in comfort zone, there'll always be some little extra free time here and there. And that free time is where Maya will creep in. So comfort zone is dangerous because Maya can creep in very easily. That's why the four Kumaras, they give the example of the ocean. When the huge tide of the ocean comes, it overfloods the rivers and makes the rivers go in the opposite direction. So that flooding, Prabhupada explains, is to be very, very busy in devotional service, to pack our daily lives with full engagement so Maya can't creep in. So that's referred to stretch zone. So we pack our days with lots of seva, sadhana, things to do, and we just stretch ourselves a little bit, but not too much that we go into panic zone. If we're always doing bhakti in panic zone, we'll get burnt out, and we will make, stupid mistakes. We will compromise on our service. We might end up offending devotees, saying something that will offend other devotees, and we might end up doing seva prad. We might do offenses in seva, we might do offenses in our dealings with other devotees if we're performing bhakti in panic zone. So best is to be in stretch zone. Panic zone, the danger is offenses can be easily committed. Because we lose our intelligence, we become all panicky, intelligence goes, and when intelligence is lost, aparads can happen. Comfort zone, the danger is, because we have a lot of free time in comfort zone, we get very cozy and Maya can easily creep in. Different thoughts suddenly start coming in our minds, so on and so forth. So we should always voluntarily put ourselves in such a position that we're in stretch zone. Not so much that we're in panic zone, but little bit we should always be stretching ourselves. So that's something we should all voluntarily take up for our own lives. So we should, my Guru Maharaj, he comes up with this term, lifestyle engineering. So we all have to engineer our own lifestyle in such a way that we're always busy in bhakti, we're always busy in devotional service. And that will protect us from Maya's allurements. And that will protect us from sense gratification, which Prabhupada is saying is like our biggest enemy. That's what makes us forget Krishna. Similar analogy Krishna, he gives in Bhagavad Gita. If you remember, end of 2nd chapter, Krishna, he says that, gives the example of the ocean. How, the ocean is always being filled with water, either through rainfall, through rivers, so on and so forth. But although so many thousands and thousands of gallons of water is coming into the ocean from the sky and through rivers, the ocean never overflows. The ocean is always the same. The ocean is always steady. Whereas you take the example of a small puddle of water. Let's say it starts raining. What will happen to that puddle of water? Will it stay the same or will it change? It will change, right? It will slowly start increasing. And the size of that puddle will change. It won't remain steady. It won't remain as it is. But during the rainy season, those same clouds are pouring water on the ocean. Thousands and thousands of gallons of water. But does the ocean change in size? Does the ocean become bigger and overflow? No, the ocean remains steady. So the question is, what's the difference between the puddle of water and the ocean? Why is it that the puddle of water is changing and the ocean remains the same? Anyone like to answer? Sadhu, yes, perfect answer. So the difference between the ocean and the puddle of water is the depth. The depth of water in the ocean is unlimited. But the depth of water in the puddle is so shallow, it's so tiny. So that's why when rain comes, the puddle changes. But because the depth of the water in the ocean is so great, it never changes. It always remains the same. It's always steady. So in the same way, it's said that if we are very, very deep in our bhakti, if we are very, very, very deep in our spiritual lives, then no matter whatever the illusory energy throws at us, we'll always be steady. We will never get overwhelmed. But if our depth of bhakti, if our depth of Krishna consciousness, our depth of spiritual consciousness is very, very shallow, small things will agitate us. Someone just says one small thing about us, we'll immediately become angry, we may become, frustrated, get irritated. But if we're very, very deep in our bhakti, if we're very, very deep in our Krishna consciousness, then no matter whatever, people throw at us from outside, demigods throw at us, through, natural disasters, so on and so forth, it will never affect us. So the difference between the ocean and the puddle of water is the depth of water, how deep they are. Same way, if we're very deep in our bhakti, nothing can overcome us, nothing can disturb us. So that is the secret to overcoming Maya's allurements, to overcoming sense gratification, overcoming material desires. We just have to go more and more deeper in our bhakti. The more deep we become in Krishna consciousness, the more we'll be aloof from the enticements, allurements, distractions, the punches of Maya. My Guru Maharaj, he gives this example that whenever Maya punches you, you should punch Maya back. You shouldn't just take it. But for us, it's like, we get punched by Maya and then we think, oh no, Maya is punching me. Oh no, I'm so fallen. Or, what should I do like that? We go into self-pity, we end up doing self-indulgence. Oh, I'm so fallen, Maya is attacking me, this thought is coming, that thought is coming, or, like that. We become depressed. Once Sankarshan Maharaj, he was here, and he was explaining that to be depressed is actually another form of sense gratification. Interesting, right? So if you think about it, there's two types of sense gratification. Either there's sense gratification for our senses, or there's sense gratification for Krishna's senses. So if we're doing something that is not pleasing Krishna, then it means it's for our own sense gratification. So us being depressed, how does that please Krishna? Does that benefit Krishna in any way? No. So that means we're actually simply gratifying our own senses. So to be depressed, to feel self-pity, to think, oh, I am so this and that, I'm useless, I can't do anything, to go into that kind of consciousness is simply another form of sense gratification. In no way is it benefiting Krishna. In no way is it benefiting other devotees. In no way is it pleasing to Krishna. So it's simply another type of sense gratification. So that's why my Guru Maharaj says, when Maya punches us, we should punch Maya back. It means some impediment is being thrown at us through Maya, through our minds. Immediately we should punch Maya back by either chanting more, by taking shelter of Srimad Bhagavatam, looking at a picture of Radha Gopinath on our phone, putting our earphones on, listening to a lecture or kirtan, like this. Through some form of devotional service, we should punch Maya back. We shouldn't take, the punch like that. We should punch Maya back. This way we should fight with the illusory energy and not get defeated. So all of us, we can have some weapons in our artillery, whenever Maya is attacking, we can take shelter of that. It could be a photo of Radha Gopinath, some lectures, of our Guru Maharaj or particular Maharaj we like to hear, some kirtan or Bhagavatam, so on and so forth. So this will happen. Prabhupada, he says in one purport of Bhagavad Gita, that when a person, he starts practicing bhakti, he's actually declaring war on Maya. So when a country declares war on another country, will that country just sit and just remain idle? No, they will naturally attack back, right? So Prabhupada says every time a jiva, he starts practicing bhakti, he's actually declaring war on Maya. So Maya is not just going to, stay back and just do nothing and just let us practice bhakti peacefully. No, she will definitely attack. But when she attacks, my Guru Maharaj says we should attack Maya back by taking shelter of Bhagavatam, holy name, kirtan, devotee association, so on and so forth. This way we can progress in bhakti very nicely. Even inside Krishna consciousness, we have this tendency to engage in sense gratification. But in the spiritual world, every single thing, the devotees they do is simply for Krishna's pleasure, Krishna Sukha Hetu. There's one example, just like the cowherd boys, in that story when the cowherd boys, they were telling Krishna and Balaram that we're feeling hungry, can you please get us some food? Then Krishna and Balaram send them to the brahmanas performing sacrifice. So at that time the acharyas explained that actually, it might seem like the cowherd boys, they're using Krishna for their own sense gratification. That Krishna and Balaram, we're hungry, please give us some food. Isn't that, asking Krishna for something for one's own senses? The acharyas explain, actually, the cowherds, they were thinking that we've been playing here for so long in the forest that definitely Krishna and Balaram are hungry. But they don't want to disturb us. They're feeling too shy to say, let's get some food. So what we'll do, we will fake hunger and tell Krishna and Balaram that we're hungry. So that way, we will get food and Krishna and Balaram's hunger could be satisfied. So like this, every single person in Vrindavan, they're always just simply thinking of Krishna's pleasure. There's no tinge of selfishness. For us, we're externally doing bhakti, but even inside bhakti, we tend to engage, in some sort of a sense gratification, which is okay. But as we, practice more and more, those subtle desires, for sense gratification, that will also slowly go away. At the end of the day, Krishna is the supreme enjoyer. Once one Maharaj was here, he was explaining that Krishna, he's the primary enjoyer, and we are the secondary enjoyer. If we try to take up the post of the primary enjoyer, we will always fail and we'll always be embarrassed. So Krishna, he's the only sole primary enjoyer, we are the secondary enjoyer, which means we can also enjoy, we can also have a good time, but only when we give enjoyment to the primary. When we try to satisfy Krishna's senses, then we as secondary enjoyers, we'll also feel some happiness. Just like the different parts of the body, say my hand. My hand will enjoy, become healthy and strong when it takes food and gives to the stomach. So the primary enjoyer is the stomach, the other parts of the body, they're the secondary enjoyer. If the hand thinks, no, I will be the primary enjoyer, I will enjoy the samosa myself, and the hand starts squishing and tries to eat the samosa, will the hand get nutrition? Will it feel satisfied? No. But if that hand takes the samosa and gives to the actual primary enjoyer, the stomach, then the stomach will enjoy that, the nutrients from that samosa it will distribute throughout the body and the hand will be healthy and strong. Same way Prabhupada explains that Krishna is the primary enjoyer, we are the secondary enjoyers. If we try to take up the post of being the primary enjoyer, we'll always fail and we'll always be embarrassed. We can never compete with Krishna when it comes to enjoyment. Just like one time, we were driving for some seva, then along the way we stopped by Centennial Park. So Centennial Park is near Randwick. It's a very beautiful park, and Srila Prabhupada, when he was here in Sydney in the early 1970s, he actually went for a morning walk in Centennial Park. And after his morning walk in Centennial Park, Prabhupada said, this park is even better than the park in New York. What's that famous park called in New York? Central Park, yes. So Prabhupada, after walking in our Centennial Park in Sydney, Prabhupada commented on devotees that this park is even better than Central Park in New York. This is a very nice park. So one time we stopped by that park and we were taking lunch. And we parked the car under a tree. And then, I rolled down the windows. The other devotee, he went, to take prasad near the lake I just sat in the car. And I rolled back the seat, to a nice angle so I can relax. I rolled down the windows, nice breeze was flowing, and I was getting nice backrest. Then I took out my prasad. And then usually while we take prasad, we hear some lectures. So I took out my phone, found a nice lecture, on YouTube. Then I balanced it nicely on the steering wheel, so I have a nice, screen like that. Then I rolled back the seat. Then I was just about to take prasad, everything is perfect, I have nice lecture going, on my phone screen. Nice breeze is coming through the windows. And, my seat is, nicely, I'm getting nice backrest. Then I was about to open my lunchbox, and that day they had made, Ram Prabhu had made some parathas, aloo parathas, so I was like eager, to dive deep. Then just as I looked down to take my first bite of the prasad, I saw there was this big bug in my lunchbox. It looked like a cockroach, but it wasn't a cockroach, like some kind of huge beetle, big black one like that. And I was like, complete shock. I was like, man, I was going to have a good time, everything is perfect. Nice lecture is going, breeze is blowing, aloo paratha is waiting for me, and now there's this huge bug in my lunchbox. And I was like so bewildered. I was like in shock for a few seconds, and I was thinking, like, who is this guy? Where did he come from? How did he get in my lunchbox? Was it in the car, and when I opened my lunchbox, it jumped in, or did it come from the tree? Because we were under a tree. Maybe I think what happened from the tree, it fell or something, and out of all the places, it landed right in my lunchbox. So this is our situation in material world. We try to be like Krishna, enjoy. But there'll always be some pinprick. Prabhupada gives the example of like sweet rice mixed with sand. So there'll always be something which doesn't go according to our plan. But this never happens in Krishna's pastimes. We don't read in Krishna book, Krishna, he went to the forest to enjoy with his friends, and he was about to eat his samosa, and one big bug came and ate, You never hear that. Everything just goes according to plan. In Krishna's pastimes, every moment he's enjoying. Everything is just perfect. For us, everything goes wrong. We make so many plans for sense gratification, but always something or other will go wrong. So we can never be the primary enjoyer. Because to be perfect in enjoyment, we have to be perfect controllers. Only if someone has everything under his control, can he then be a full-on enjoyer. If something is not fully under one's control, then he can't enjoy, because things will go not according to plan. So because Krishna is the supreme controller, therefore he is simultaneously also the supreme enjoyer. Because we hardly have anything under control, we can't even control our own mind and senses. What to think of controlling the weather, controlling other people, controlling the environment. Because nothing is in our control, therefore we can never fully enjoy. So we're always the secondary enjoyer. We can never become the primary enjoyer. Now, regarding the mind. So the mind is the root cause of our existence here in this material world. It is said that intelligence is produced of the mode of passion, and the mind is born of the mode of goodness. Why is it said that the mind is born of the mode of goodness? Because goodness means maintenance. If we want to maintain something, we have to be in mode of goodness. So the thing that is maintaining our existence here in this material world is our own mind. Because of our mind, we are still here in this material world. The mind is that thing which is maintaining our existence in this material world. So if we want to get out of this material world, we have to overcome the mind. So how to overcome the mind? Prabhupada, he keeps things very simple. One purport, Bhagavad Gita, Prabhupada says that the best medicine for the mad mind, Prabhupada describes our minds as mad. And it's so true. The best description of our mind is mad, our mad mind. So Prabhupada says the best prescription, the best medicine for our mad mind is chanting Hare Krishna. So chanting nice japa, Prabhupada says, that's the best way one can conquer the mind. There's like different ways actually one can attack the mind or address the mind. One is, Prabhupada says, one can pray to the mind. Second is, one can beat the mind. Third is, one can ignore the mind. So different occasions, Prabhupada would give different solutions. So the first one is, pray to the mind. There is one nice bhajan written by one of our acharyas, Govinda Das. So that's a good example of how we can overcome the mind by praying to the mind. Bhaja hure mana Shri Nanda Nandana Abhaya Charana Ravindare. So that's how the song starts. In that song, this acharya of ours, he's actually praying to the mind. My dear mind, just worship the lotus feet of Shri Krishna. This human form of life is very, very rare. After so many lifetimes, you have got this human form of life. Don't waste it. Engage in bhakti. Take shelter of the association of devotees. Like this, verse after verse, he is actually praying to the mind. So that is the first technique of overcoming the mind. That we can pray to the mind. My dear mind, please don't act like this. This is not good for us. Let us do this. Let us not engage like that. So that's a very nice song to memorize, to learn, and to sing. You'll see as we sing that song, it will naturally calm down the mind. So that's the first technique. We pray to the mind. Second technique is we beat the mind. So this Prabhupada, he used to give example of his spiritual master. How his spiritual master used to say that in the morning, we should beat our minds hundreds of times, with broomstick, and at night, before we go to bed, again we should beat our mind, hundreds of times with a shoe. So what is this beating the mind? Beating the mind means we push ourselves, force ourselves to follow some regulated schedule, Okay, in the morning, regardless of how I feel like, I will wake up at a certain time, I will attend, I will have this morning program, I will sing this, I will chant my rounds, I will hear something, or I will read something. Like this, whether we like it or not, we force ourselves to do certain practices of bhakti. That's like beating the mind. Mind doesn't want to get up early in the morning, but we force ourselves. The mind doesn't want to sit and chant, but we force ourselves. So this is like beating the mind. The mind wants to go one way, but we push it. No, this way. This is what we're going to do. So that's like called beating the mind. Third technique Prabhupada explains is ignore the mind. One time one devotee came to Prabhupada and he was telling Prabhupada that Prabhupada, so hard to chant Hare Krishna. Every time I chant, my mind is going crazy. My mind is going here and there. How did Prabhupada respond? He said, mind? What's this question about the mind? Just chant Hare Krishna and listen. Where is this mind? What's the question of the mind? Meaning, just ignore the mind. Imagine it doesn't exist. It's just you and the holy name. Just chant and hear. That's it. Just ignore the mind. As if it doesn't exist. So that's the third technique. We ignore the mind. Same thing, technique Krishna explains in that verse, end of second chapter of the ocean. How although desires are coming in, although the rivers are flowing into the ocean is unagitated. So, in the same way, that sloka explains, although desires are coming into the mind of the yogi is unagitated. So it's not like, at our stage of bhakti, maybe when we become fully pure, those desires won't even come. But our stage, desires will be coming. But we just ignore those desires, we don't act upon it. So that verse of Bhagavad Gita, end of second chapter, that verse explains that. That although desires are flowing into the mind of the yogi doesn't act upon them. The yogi knows those desires. And he just continues on with his spiritual practice. Another example, one Maharaj was explaining, just like you go to a train station and you stand at a platform and let's say you need to go to Parramatta. But a train comes by and it stops on the platform, but that train is going to, let's say, Epping, through Stratfield. and you choose to ignore that train. You choose to not to get on that train. Then another train comes, and that's some other place, not Parameta. Then again, you choose to ignore that train, not get on. So in the same way, Maharaj explains that all these different trains coming into a platform, that's like all desires coming into our mind. So we can choose whether we board a train or not. So a certain thought or desire might come in our mind, but it is our choice, our free will, whether we want to continue contemplating on that thought or whether we ignore that thought. So if any non-devotional thoughts or desires come, we can choose to ignore it. We shouldn't board on that train. Otherwise, they will take us down, to the hellish planets, or at least to animal form of life, in next life. So that's the third technique. We just ignore the mind. That's how Prabhupada explained. So in this way, we can overcome the mind. Okay, we're nearly finished. Is there any questions or comments by anyone? Yes, bro. Book called Satya Samhita. I'm not sure. I also haven't heard. Yes, bro. Okay, so Prabhu is asking, we're talking about going deeper in our bhakti. So what does that involve? Is it just chanting more, reading more? Going deeper in our bhakti means everything. So we should be like holistic devotees, So it's not just like trying to do more sadhana, That also involves seva, it also involves dealings with other devotees. So it's basically being more Krishna conscious, being more conscious in everything we do. So especially when it comes to seva, sometimes one thing I've noticed that we might be externally doing a particular seva, but internally our mind can be elsewhere. So going deeper in bhakti, it involves in what mood we do a seva. Just like Radhanath Maharaj, one time he was explaining to devotees who were chopping vegetables in the kitchen. He was explaining that don't take the service lightly of chopping vegetables, in the temple kitchen. After millions and millions of lives, you have got this opportunity to cut vegetables for Krishna. So that's called being deep in one's bhakti. That's called being deep in seva. That we can just be chopping and thinking, oh, what happened at home, what happened there, just completely spacing out. Whereas another devotee, he'll be feeling so grateful. Wow, I'm chopping, vegetables in the kitchen in the association of devotees for Krishna. Who knows after how many lifetimes I have got this opportunity to cook for Krishna, to be in devotee association. Thank you, Krishna, for giving me this service, and in that way we chop the vegetables. Same way, sometimes when I'm in Gopinathas, serving prasad to our guests, when they come, in my mind I try to think, this is a guest of Radha Gopinath, let me serve them nicely, let me make them feel welcome. In that mood, I try to serve the prasad. So that's called trying to be deep, Externally, we're doing the service, but also internally, we're trying to maintain a nice, proper consciousness. So when we go deep in our sadhana, that will also, as a natural outpouring of that will also help us go deep in our seva. So we should be more mindful also of what's going in our mind while we're doing the seva. Are we feeling ungrateful, or why did I get assigned this service? I don't want to do this. I'd rather do something else. Is that what's going on in our mind, or are we feeling so grateful while we're doing the service? So any service we get to do, our only mood should be gratitude. Any service we get, our internal dynamic should be of that of gratitude. Thank you, Krishna, for giving me this seva. This is so nice. Thank you so much. So that should be our only mood of consciousness, regardless of whatever seva we're getting actually. So going deep doesn't just mean trying to become a big pundit, analyzing Bhagavatam, memorizing a lot of slokas, learning commentaries by different acharyas, That's not what going deep means. Going deep means, what mood or consciousness we're doing every single thing in our devotional life. That includes seva, what consciousness we're doing seva, and that also includes our dealings with other devotees. So when we're in association with other devotees, we feel very grateful. Thank you, Krishna, for giving me such nice association of devotees. I feel so grateful like that. Okay. Nantara Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Jaguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Jai Gaur Premanande.